Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's show. My name is Spencer Welsh. Thank you so much for joining us. Here is what you need to know on today's episode. Good news first. The FDA has given a green light to the Pfizer vaccine. The advisory panel has for vaccines. The widely respected body will probably mean that we're going to see some of these vaccines coming out very, very short order, which is very good. But the news around COVID and everything else is pretty much very, very bad. 3,000 deaths in a day now for the United States. The worst is yet to come. We'll keep you posted on what you can expect from that point. And also, Joe Biden feuding with the NAACP and other civil rights leaders, taking some of the most right-wing approaches possible when it comes to his view of the election, who was successful, who caused some of the problems here, who's to blame for pretty much the conservative defeat, the conservative victories in the down ballot, blaming defund the police, Black Lives Matter, all that kind of stuff, and really just showing how long of 4 years it's going to be with this leaked reporting audio from Ryan Grimm. And finally, Bernie Sanders and others are really mobilizing to pass something in the way of a COVID relief bill, as shoplifting of essentials is on the rise now, as millions are struggling to feed their families and things don't show any signs of abating. This is Newsflash 457 on the Spencer Walsh Radio Network, and it begins right now. So yeah, as you can see, there is not a lot of good news out there, but we do have some good news to start with. It is the fact that the FDA has given the blessing to the blessing of these experts, blessing the experts. The experts have been blessed the vaccine is pretty much what I'm trying to say here. We are going for a vaccine here, folks. Pfizer's COVID vaccine passed a critical milestone on Thursday when a panel of experts formally recommended that the Food and Drug Administration authorize the vaccine. So the agency is likely to do so within days, giving healthcare workers and nursing home residents first priority to begin receiving the first shots early next week. So that's how it's going to work. We're going to finally see some sort of vaccinations, and hopefully things will be able to kind of in some way control and calm down from here, at least. I mean, I definitely do think that this here in America, now that we have this COVID vaccine, it definitely, I hope it can be kind of like a peak. Like things, I know there's going to be a lot of bad cases and a huge rise. And I mean, if you ask an epidemiologist right now, they would probably tell you that we are not at the peak. In fact, we're going to do a story that is talking about how there is worse to come in the coronavirus pandemic. But I hope we can now begin to see here the light at the end of the tunnel, and we can finally get through to some of the stuff. Like the vaccine here, it's going to be important, and we're going to be following how it's going to be rolled out, and hopefully it will be rolled out in an equitable, fair way where we don't have people trying to jump to the front of the line just because they're wealthy and getting in the way of what the experts say is going to be the most efficient way to roll this thing out, so that we can get the most vulnerable people healthy first, vaccinated first, and then we can kind of continue back onto normal life. And it is so important to ensure that, and it's going to be really interesting to see how that vaccine hits in some parts of the country. It is probably going to face a lot of difficulty in some parts of the country. I would not be surprised, but we shall see. It is the beginning of what I would definitely say is a long, long journey from here on out. So, yeah, we're going to move on right now, and we're going to get deeper into this story. We're going to move on to the next thing in this story. The FDA's vaccine advisory panel is composed of independent scientific experts and infectious disease doctors and statisticians. Have voted 17-4, with one member abstaining, in favor of emergency authorization for people 16 and older. With rare exceptions, the FDA follows the advice of its advisory panels almost pretty much all the time, and there's no reason to expect that they would not. At this point, with the formal blessing, the nation may finally begin to slow the spread of the virus as infections and daily deaths surge, reaching a record of more than 3,000 daily deaths on Wednesday. Some of the deadliest days are happening in American history. Deadliest single days of death in American history are happening right now, and nobody, really seems to be just processing it. Like to the level of the fact that it's happening every day. It's just a slow burn, a hyper normalization, to borrow a term. it really makes it hard to fully process what is happening to this country. Absolutely horrific amounts of death and destruction. The FDA is expected to grant emergency use authorization on Saturday. According to people familiar with the agency's planning, though, they cautioned that last-minute legal or bureaucratic requirements could push the announcement to Sunday or later. The initial shipment of 6.4 million doses will leave warehouses within 24 hours of being cleared by the FDA, which is like, hurry up, please, come on. We need to get this thing out of there. No time for bureaucrat. Like, if it's not Sunday, then if it really does drag on, that's going to be something we will be able to cover for you on the show. But it is going to be very interesting to see how they handle that, because it's just like just horrific dragging out of what we see in this. It's just going to just get it out of here. Like, come on, people are like, they need it. Like, let's go. The arrival of the first vaccine is the beginning of a complex, months-long distribution plan here in New York Times reporting, coordinated by federal and local health authorities, as well as large hospitals and pharmacy chains, that, if successful, will help return a grieving and economically depressed country back to some semblance of normal, maybe by the summer. With the high efficacy and good safety profile shown for a vaccine and the pandemic essentially out of control, vaccine introduction is an urgent need, says Catherine Jansen, Senior Vice President and Head of Vaccine Research at Development at Pfizer, said this meeting. So it's like, it really does kind of suck that we had to have this in the first place. I think what we really should, as we look for this vaccine, I don't think there is any point in not remembering the fact that this was it did not have to be this way. It did not have to be so that, we were like waiting and we were holding on and we were just crawling to this vaccine pathetically as 3,000 of us die every single day. And it's probably going to be more tomorrow, the next week after that. Like, we need this vaccine, otherwise we couldn't have got under control. We don't have the capacity to get this under control as a country. I really don't think, I'm sure Biden would have done a better job in terms of you can't do any worse, but like, it is hard to imagine that we would have handled this in a way that the vaccine wasn't just incredibly important to us, as it is important in countries in Europe as well. We definitely do need, and the winter is just super, super brutal, and it is really something that I think Americans should never forget how much their government has failed them in this time, because it is just absolutely, like, it is a failure of the social contract of the highest order for many, many, many working class people, and so many people just seem to be going on as if day by day things aren't happening. Like, there's nothing really that can be done to change. Like, people just feel like they're just sinking into slow malaise of just endlessly in quarantine, not being able to have a functioning, stable life. That takes mental tolls. It takes huge economic tolls for a lot of people, not getting back to their jobs, not working in full capacity, just that lack of security, especially for some of the more precarious essential workers. And they're the people who are, by the way, out of their jobs and are facing a huge loss of protections by December. If they do not pass a bill before they leave for Christmas, people will get evicted. People will be like homeless over Christmas. People will not have little access to unemployment. People will lose their ability to access unemployment unless this thing gets extended over that time period. They're not going to be able to get their benefits. They're going to be in a huge amount of economic trouble, even though things are like, even though they're probably already in, those same people are already teetering and hanging by a thread. Anyway, so like, this is just an absolutely horrific failure on the highest order of the government, of what was supposed to happen. And now we have to go for this vaccine, which is going to be really a slow slog for the next couple of months when we get it out. We can do it, but it is an incredible scientific achievement. It shattered all speed records for vaccine development, which typically takes 4 years. BioNTech, incredible on that, starting, I believe, with that 11 months ago, and they really were behind the technology. Pfizer more with the funding. It is also a triumph for the FDA, which has upheld its reputation, the world's gold standard for drug reviews, despite political pressure from President Trump, who has sought to tie his political fortune to the success of a vaccine. The Pfizer vaccine was already announced to the people in Bahrain and Britain, where it was authorized on December 2nd. Canada approved it this past Wednesday. The U.S. authorization of the Pfizer vaccine expected to be followed soon by one for Moderna's version, which uses similar technology and has been shown promising results in clinical trials. This could help speed things up, and the more effective vaccines there seem to be like two top ones, kind of one maybe slightly above the Oxford one. So yeah, Operation Warp Speed, the Trump administration's multi-billion-dollar program to fast-track vaccine development, pre-ordered 100 million doses of the Pfizer vaccine in July and heavily backed the development and manufacturing of Moderna's vaccine, so that we'll probably be getting some of that too coming our way. More than 100 FDA employees have worked nearly around the clock to review the application for Pfizer, submitted on November 20th, compressing months of analysis into weeks as they poured over thousands of pages of clinical trials and manufacturing data. So, this is just insane that this is being condensed in such a short period and people working nonstop. So, just absolutely insane amount of effort being put into this. So it showed pretty much the vaccine worked across a variety of demographic groups, and that was somewhat effective even after the first of 2 doses. During the day-long meeting on Thursday, panel members peppered company agent and agency experts with detailed questions about the safety and efficacy of the vaccine, which was to be found 95% effective in late-stage clinical trials. Some members expressed concern there was not enough data for 16 and 17-year-olds to know whether the vaccine would help them, but the committee decided the benefits for that group outweighed the risk. So we're going to be getting the vaccine. Upper-level high schoolers are going to be getting the vaccine as well. Some members asked, probably last though, some members asked about the likelihood for serious allergic reactions, given the news that regulators in Britain recommended that people with a history of anaphylactic allergic reactions to medicine and food not get the vaccine while they investigate 2 cases of allergic reaction among healthcare workers. Pfizer officials said there's no cases of serious allergic reactions within the trial of 44,000 participants, and people with a history of allergic reactions to vaccines were excluded from the study. So that is some vaccine news coming up. We will fill you in on what has been going on lately with the other side of the coronavirus, which is unfortunately what is happening right now, and it is just not pretty in any way, folks. We will be getting to that for you, but first we're going to chill you out with a little bit of Cordray and Chance the Rapper. And as you can see, that not quite working out in the way that we wanted there, unfortunately. So we will, you know what? We're gonna move on, and we're gonna go right into this. As we're just, there's no way to sugarcoat it, folks. Things are not good right now. The new daily record of coronavirus deaths, just an absolutely stunning and really horrific number. It's not just that at least 3,055 deaths reported on Wednesday for the first time since the pandemic began, far surpassing the spring peak of 2,752. It's not that the nation has lost 3,055 people who once blew out birthday candles, had triumphs and stumbles, and laughed and cried before succumbing to the virus. In a single day, the country numbed and divided lost more Americans to the coronavirus than were killed in the September 11th attacks or the attack on Pearl Harbor. That was yesterday that this happened. Yesterday. Think about what you did. As more Americans were dying yesterday than any other time in our history in one single day. It is just absolutely insane to be living through this kind of time. Just a massive kind of cognitive. Unless you're one of the super hot spots, up in the Midwest, especially in the northern Midwest, I believe right now it's quite bad, and you're in an area where it's going on. But people mostly are continuing their lives. In this kind of semi-normal state that we've been kind of pushed in for since March, and people are dying in such an incredible amount. So yeah, the worst is to come in the next week or 2 or 3, said Catherine Trozzi, an infectious disease epidemiologist at UT Health School in Public Health in Houston. What happens after that is going to be depend on our behavior today. Dr. Trozzi said she expected the death toll to accelerate in part because current members most likely do not reflect infections from Thanksgiving gatherings. So the current numbers. So that is what we are seeing. So keep in mind how far back this really is. So we're probably about to see what happened in Thanksgiving maybe in the next few weeks. Right now, what we were seeing is when everyone started getting more and more inside, when everything started to close down more and more, and things were more